Hi, my name's Alexis, and this is my YouTube channel. A couple of things before I start. My sister's over here in the background. she's in the audience. So if I look at her and I start smiling like a crackhead, it's because I'm looking at her. Yeah, she's not really gonna say anything. So. Or if you hear like TikTok noises in the background, you know who that is. A couple of, I guess, disclaimers. If I say something that sounds like I'm bashing somebody, I promise I'm not bashing anybody. It's not my intent. Might sound like it because I don't really have a filter, but I promise you that I'm not. And also, if I'm looking down I have my notebook right here with all my notes about what I'm going to talk about. So if you see me like staring at the ground, yeah, that's it. So, title of this video is breaking your habits and patterns isn't actually helping you heal. The reason I had figured this out because I had watched for a long time. I like hit that self-help, like, you know where that area of like content is where everyone's like, self-help, you gotta do this, that, and the third, blah 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 blah. And I had gotten really far into that for maybe like 3 years, and it's kind of a lot of it's just like break your patterns and habits and try something new and build discipline, and motivation isn't gonna help you, and rah rah rah. And that didn't help me, like, at all. Like, it would only help for certain periods of time, and then I would just like slope back down into whatever bad habits that I originally had. So again, that's why the disclaimer is here. No offense to those creators, but it just didn't help me, right? I had started healing by accident. 2 New Years ago, about a year and a half ago, I decided to start dealing with my emotions because at some point I was not dealing with them. Like, I would cry every like 6 months, and then I would cry and everything would change for like a month, and then it would go back. Were you about to make a 6'7" joke? Okay. She's over here laughing. And then everything would change for like a month, and then I would go back down to my old patterns of behavior, and I was like, okay, well, this isn't working. So what was I was talking about my emotions, not my habits. Hold on. Yeah, but it would basically be the same thing. So I started dealing with my emotions a year and a half ago, or at least trying to actually regulate them instead of avoiding it. And I figured out some shit. So I'm gonna share that with you. So before I really start this, a couple of disclaimers. If you actually want to heal, there's a couple of things that you gotta do. One, you gotta have a friend or something or somebody to talk to, or else you'll go fucking nuts. I promise you. I think from like late September to February, I was pretty much suicidal. It was a rough time. It was pretty bad. And I did not tell anybody. I had a journal. Did have a journal. Did not say shit to nobody. So I suggest you find something or someone to talk to. Yeah. And then 2, don't do all of it at once. Like, if you're gonna heal, break it in chunks, figure something out, stop, spiral out of that pattern of behavior, and then begin again. Because I did it all at once, and that's why I was depressed, because you're not dealing with 1 or 2 things at a time, which is a lot easier than dealing with the whole thing, like dealing with 10 different patterns all at once. And that's what I was doing. So don't do that. Oh, and then find a method to ground. Like, go outside, do some shit. Like, don't stay in the house. Also stayed in the house, didn't go anywhere. Don't stay in the house. Get out the house. Okay, those are my disclaimers. We're gonna start the video. Okay, this is the whiteboard. This is where I am going to be explaining everything on, obviously. That was dumb as hell. And then, I remember now. First things first. This right here is your brain. Not really, because that's a fucked up looking brain. But this is like the conscious part, where you remember everything, what you say on a regular basis, what you do, blah, 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 blah. Click down to the conscious brain. We have sector 2, emotions, your feelings. I said some scary shit right there, didn't I? This is also what I call barrier 1, right? Because a lot of people don't want to deal with their feelings. And if you don't want to deal with your feelings, please click off this video because you're not getting anywhere. Okay, and what I mean by that, you have to deal with your feelings in order to heal, because in certain situations, you will feel emotional and you will get triggered by people. Have you ever been in a situation where you're talking to someone and they say some shit and you're pissed, but you know it's irrational, but you're like, I'm still pissed about it though. That's the feeling that you have to click down into. And I'm not saying, oh, just ask yourself some stupid questions. You have to feel the anger. You have to let yourself feel the emotion and then click down into it and be like, why do I feel this way? You know? Why is this happening? At some point, when you start questioning yourself, you'll realize that this emotion clicks down into something that happened a bit earlier in like the past. Not earlier, something that happened in the past, right? So there was one time this was like all the way back at the beginning in January, where one of my sisters had said something and I got really pissed, and in my head I was so upset. I was like, this is why nobody understands me, blah 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 blah. And I was like, I clicked down to it and I was like, why do you feel like nobody understands you? And then I was able to trace that emotion all the way back to where the first time I felt extremely misunderstood telling my emotions or sharing my emotions with somebody. So that breaks down into the second part, your subconscious. Oh, that's a B, girl. Patterns. Because that's where your emotions will eventually lead to when you ask questions and you click down into them, and you'll realize, oh, all this irrational hurt that I'm feeling, not irrational hurt. You feel hurt for a reason. Your emotions are valid, right? But in some situations, we know that your reaction is a bit out of pocket, right? For at least the situation itself, because you're reacting based off of the situation that happened a while ago. If someone now makes you feel the same way that you did when you're a child, you're going to react the way that you did as a child now. That's why it is irrational. So once you do that multiple times, and someone makes you feel that way again after that original moment in your childhood happens, it's going to build, and it's going to build on top of each other until you get into a pattern of it eventually. And so that's how these subconscious patterns get created. And there's not just one, there's like multiple of them. There's like 10 of them. And there's so many. But you don't realize the patterns until you start dealing with your friggin' emotions and you start asking yourself some more fucking questions instead of being like, oh, I just feel this way. God damn it. So, eventually, you'll figure out a lot of your own patterns. And then you're probably wondering, Alexis, what's the point of these patterns? Well, the point is whatever you think the point is. Most people, before you heal, you originally think the point of all these things in the past, or like the way people hurt you in the past, you're like, oh, these people are out to get me. These blah, 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 blah. Everybody out to get me. Everybody's not out to get you. Okay? These things happen because you're supposed to learn something from it. You're supposed to grow, but if you don't get into that mindset, you're gonna think everybody's against you, and every time something happens, you're just gonna get hurt, and then it's just gonna build. These patterns are just gonna continue to build and elongate longer than what they need to be. Okay? And so, this is also what I like to call your subconscious patterns barrier 2, because this is blocking something else. These little itty bitty tiny patterns that are based off of little itty bitty cramps, not cramps, that's a crazy word to say, little itty bitty broken off pieces of like fear, right? So, like let's say some of your subconscious patterns are like, you're scared of people understanding you, you have an anxious attachment, you have an abandonment issue, you blah, 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 you feel like you need to be perfect, this, that, and the third, right? Those are your main patterns. At some point in the journey, you realize that all these patterns have the same root. They all come from the same thing. How do I explain this? The reason why I say that this is barrier 2 is because that there's a bigger root fear. We're gonna move it right here. Because there's this big ass root fear right here. This is the thing. This is the why. I can't spell shit. Don't mind me. This is the reason why, this main fear, why all these subconscious patterns were created in the first place. And it's always like a particular moment in time. Like I can remember mine. And I'll tell you, I remember that it was me and my mom, we were upstairs. And I told her that I wanted to do something. And I was like, can we do this? And I was like, blah, 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 blah. And she looked at me and she said, she was like, you'll never be at the top of my list. She was like, you'll never be my number one priority. And she named off like an entire list of things where she was like, you'll never be my number one priority, and blah, 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 blah. And that is exactly where my root fear came in from, was that I will never be worthy enough. And that's where every other pattern that I had created stemmed from. Because I felt like I had to prove that I was enough. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? So that's why this video is titled, Your Habits and Patterns Aren't Actually Helping You Heal. Because you're not identifying this big root fear where everything came from in the first place. You can get rid of how many patterns or habits that you want to, but if you don't identify that root fear, every new pattern and habit that you build, that you try to build, will still be connected to that root fear. That's why you're avoiding this first thing. You're avoiding your emotions. Most people avoid it. You either scroll through Instagram all day, you scroll through TikTok, you smoke, you do drugs, you do whatever the fuck you can do to avoid the actual issue. And that's why we have so many people who are running around who are unaware of their own actions and their own patterns and are hurting and impacting other people in a negative way. Because you can fix this subconscious pattern. You can fix whatever habits you fucking want to. But every habit and every new pattern that you implant will still have to come from that fear. if you're not conscious of it. That's why I said what I said. Okay, now that we're done with the crazy ass yelling on the whiteboard segment, you might be wondering, well, what am I supposed to do after I'm done healing? Well, I haven't completely figured out that part. But what I can tell you is that, for one, when you figure out that root fear, you have to accept it. Yeah, you can't avoid it. And I know it's hard, and you're gonna be scared of looking at it, because you're not only looking at the people and the things that have hurt you in the past, you're looking at the ways that you have also hurt other people in the past because of your own patterns of behavior. And that is hard to look at. And it's gonna be hard to accept that you've hurt other people, because nobody wants to be a bad guy. And you're not a bad person for hurting other people. Everybody hurts somebody, and it's always gonna happen. As long as you learn from it and you decide to consciously try and not make that mistake again, I think everybody's cool. But you have to integrate that part of yourself into your life. You can't avoid it any longer. Because if you do try to avoid it and you do try and go back to just it's not gonna work too well. It's gonna come back to bite you in the ass, as it always does. And then the second thing, after you do that, is that you have to forgive. And I don't like that shit either. I like holding grudges. I really do. I enjoy it. It's very nice. But in this case, you have to forgive the people who have hurt you. And you have to forgive yourself for the possible hurt that you might have done to others, to yourself. It's just what you gotta do. Because you can't, you don't want to carry all of it. Because it's a lot of shit to carry by the end of it. It's through at least the middle section of like this healing phase, you're gonna be grieving. It's gonna be depressing. You're gonna be sad. You're gonna be angry. You're gonna be feeling a lot. And at the end, you're just gonna have to let it all go. Either you can hold on to it and be angry about it forever, or you can let it go and move on with your life. That's the only way that you move on. So those are the only two things that I can suggest. After that, I think you just need to go back out there and try again. I mean, that's all you can do. So I think everyone's looking for this complicated advice, like, oh, I gotta do this now. No, you just need to go out there and try again. Do things not as you would when you were acting in those patterns of behavior, but do it in a conscious way. Do it where you know what you're doing and you're not just reacting to things, you know? So it's not complicated, but it's one of the hardest parts. Because not a lot of people want to forgive. And I'm saying that from personal experience. I'm saying that from personal experience. But yeah, that's it. I hope you liked it, enjoyed it, liked my rampage of yelling going on from back there on the whiteboard. If you did like it, please also take the advice. I'm like, I don't want people just to like it and then just move on and be like, yeah, well, I guess. Like, no, take the advice. Please figure it out. And move on with your life and do something better with it than what you would have done if you were still acting that way. Yeah. So I might see you another time. I might not. Honestly, I don't know what else I have to say. If I see you again, you'll know. Bye.